Chapter 22. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After Danzo messed up the Shisui incident, whether Shisui survived or his Mangekyo Sharingan was obtained by other members of the Uchiha clan, Sarutobi Hiruzen was afraid of that technique and did not dare to contact anyone from the Uchiha clan alone, except Itachi, whom he trusted. This also caused the Uchiha clan and the village to have deeper and deeper conflicts and estrangements. After all, even the channels of communication with the highest level were unilaterally blocked. Of course, Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen knew about the Kotoamatsukami ability of Shisui's Mangekyo eyes because Shisui confessed himself. He still remembered that when he first heard about the ability called Kotoamatsukami, he, who was known as the Ninja Doctor, could not believe that there was such a terrible ability in the world. After experiencing the initial disbelief, he then felt fortunate that Shisui told him all about such power and what Uchiha Fugaku asked him to do. What followed was deep fear and fear. The ability of this Mangekyo was the most frightening for people like him who stood at the top of the pyramid. For this reason, he did not hesitate to acquiesce to Danzo's action. Thinking about it now, he still felt incredible and scared about his acquiescence at that time. If such power was controlled by Danzo, wouldn't it be more threatening to him than being controlled by Uchiha Shisui? Of course, there might be some deviations in their understanding. Uchiha Shisui's Kotoamatsukami ability is indeed very powerful, but even Shisui himself can only use it once every 10 years, that power that can permanently change a person's will and thoughts to make him controlled by himself, and its activation also requires various conditions. But the result of this inaccurate information is that Sarutobi Hiruzen, the Hokage, has always hesitated whether to go out in person. If he is controlled by Kotoamatsukami, who he doesn't know how powerful, then he will lose everything, so the situation on that battlefield has become a mutually protracted war of attrition. Without the participation of him as a Hokage, the power of the Jonin and elite Jonin on the battlefield is not enough to break through the upper limit of Susanu's defense for the time being, and Uchiha Fugaku doesn't want to consume too much chakra on these people in order to reserve enough chakra and pupil power to launch Kotoamatsukami against the third generation. In addition, some other big families of Konoha did not join the battle in time because they were watching from the sidelines. This led to the current situation that troubled Kakashi and Asuma. In a house in the Hokage building, Nara Shikaku and Yamanaka Inoichi were conducting long-distance command through information transmitted from the battlefield. After just learning the information about Susanoo from the third-generation Hokage, Nara Shikaku asked Yamanaka Inoichi to share the information with Kakashi and Ashima, who were the commander and deputy commander of the front line, through the telepathy technique. Listen. Yamanaka Inoichi's voice sounded in both of their ears at the same time. The name of the huge chakra skeleton is Susanoo, which should be an ability that the Uchiha clan can use after opening the Mangekyo Sharingan. Legend has it that Uchiha Madara used this ability when he fought the first Hokage in the Valley of the End. This ability has a strong defensive power and also has special offensive means. The most troublesome thing is that according to reliable information, whether it was only a set of ribs and arms or half of the skeleton, that was not its final form. The final form of Susanoo may be even stronger than this. You'd better get rid of this trouble before Uchiha Fugaku fully masters the power of Susanoo. No. Kakashi's voice came. The most powerful force we control can only break his armor to the extent that he reveals the skeleton shown in the first two stages, and it is difficult to hurt even the people inside. I observed that the technique will cause a great burden on the body, and Uchiha Fugaku looks very painful. If this hypothesis is true, then we will disperse the number of people to delay, increase his burden and try to wear down Fugaku. Okay, I trust your judgment. Kakashi's rapid voice sounded with a breathless and anxious voice. That monster, Susanoo, has condensed into a spiral one-handed sword and is attacking us. Several of the ninjas under my command have already died. A drop of cold sweat also flowed down Yamanaka Shikaku's forehead, which was characteristic of his family. This level of power should have been dealt with by a strategic force like the Kage or the tailed beast. But the opponent happened to be the Uchiha clan, who could control both of them. He then asked Kakashi another question. Can you try to lead this Susanoo away from the center of Konoha? If this continues, it will cause casualties among civilians and ordinary ninjas. Got it. Kakashi dodged the spiral sword of the green Susanoo again, but when he tried to get close to Fugaku to attract his attention. The temporary Susanoo controlled by Uchiha Fugaku became illusory, and the original armor dissipated. The puppet-like skeleton underneath was exposed. Uchiha Fugaku was kneeling on the ground in the Susanoo. His body seemed to be under tremendous pressure and in extreme pain. Sure enough, those eyes were not Uchiha Fugaku's Mangekyo, but he had taken them away from Shisui by some method. To use this power that even Shisui had never used, the burden would definitely not be small. If you want to attack, now is the best opportunity. Kakashi and Ashima looked at each other, and they both agreed to launch a surprise attack now in order to completely reverse the situation. At this time, the third Hokage, who was hesitating in the Hokage's office whether to go into battle himself, heard the news reported to him by an Umbu ninja, Uchiha Itachi, who had long been imprisoned by the elite Umbu forces, asked to see him. At this time, Uchiha Itachi, who was imprisoned in the secret room, had awakened his consciousness from the illusion cast on him by Uchiha Haruno. The look on his face was extremely complicated and tangled, but he revealed a determination to tell the Hokage the news. Beside him, a member of the Hyuga branch of the Umbu directly under the Hokage was carefully using the Byakugan to check whether there was any abnormality in the flow of chakra in his body. Seeing that it was the Hokage himself and the two consultants who were often around him, the Umbu carefully answered. Hokage-sama, everything seems to be normal inside Uchiha Itachi's body now. Uchiha Itachi said with an ugly expression. I had already sensed something was wrong just now. I seemed to be under Uchiha Haruno's illusion, so I immediately used my ability to dispel it. The Hyuga Umbu member spread his hands. In this case, I have no evidence to prove that you have ever been under an illusion. At least when I came here, I found that you were normal, Uchiha Itachi. So he turned his gaze to the Hokage for a solution. Chapter 23. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Before the Hokage could speak, the advisor standing behind him, Mito Kadoen, spoke first and said coldly. Since you have no evidence that you have ever been controlled by an illusion, how can we believe what you say? Itachi said with a gloomy look on his face. I can continue to be monitored by you, but please give me a chance to reveal important information. But Utane Koharu snorted and said. Don't you understand? Itachi, for us, there are only two choices, believe you or not believe you in anything you say. Because if you tell even a little lie to most of the true information, it will lead to disastrous consequences in our judgment. Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't say anything. He knew that what Utane Koharu said was indeed the truth, but he tried his best to make himself believe Uchiha Itachi. The old man's turbid eyes stared at the young man whose hands were tied to the back of the chair. Under his deliberate order just now, the Umbu's supervision of him was only at the formal level. If Itachi wanted, he could get away at any time and fight his way out, but the young man did not choose to do so, but conveyed the information to him. The figure of Danzo appeared in his mind for no reason. What would the man who used to be his advisor say if he was present? Yes, if it was according to the temperament of that old friend, he would definitely persuade him. What if these seemingly docile actions before were also part of tonight's conspiracy, that the person who always thinks the worst of people's hearts will definitely say this? Thinking of this, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly wanted to meet his opponent and old friend. For some reason, the other party's appearance and tone that he usually didn't like in his memory brought a trace of nostalgia like a time filter in the heart of the third generation, but no matter how familiar he was with that man, he was not Shimura Danzo after all, and he was unwilling to think of human nature in the worst direction like Danzo. I understand. The third Hokage opened his eyes and looked directly into Itachi's eyes. Then please tell us all the information that Itachi-kun knows. Hokage, that the two consultants next to him said hurriedly. Be careful, he is trying to mislead your judgment by hiding lies in the truth. Sarutobi Hiruzen raised his right hand to stop him from speaking. He only said a few words to silence the two advisors. Itachi, I choose to believe you. Uchiha Itachi lowered his originally stern face, like a child who had done something bad to his parents, and did not dare to raise his head to see his elders. Seeing his expression, the experienced third Hokage believed Itachi a little more in his heart. If Uchiha Itachi had looked at him directly in the eyes with a clear conscience just now, he would have had some doubts. The gloomy young man spoke with difficulty. Yes, Uchiha Haruno, she was also deeply involved in this coup tonight. I originally wanted to inform the Hokage of the news that the Uchiha clan was about to launch a coup in advance, but on the way here, I was chased by Uchiha Haruno. I wanted to deal with her first, but failed. I was caught in her illusion. You. Uchiha Itachi, you were caught in her illusion? How is that possible? Aren't you the first young genius of the Uchiha clan? That the two consultants said angrily. She awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan. In this changed time and space, because he did not have the power of the Mangekyo Sharingan, Uchiha Itachi did not, as in history, contact Uchiha Obito only after receiving the order to wipe out the Uchiha clan, and the two of them launched the action. The Uchiha Itachi of this time and space must pass on the information. He alone is unable to stop the progress of the entire Uchiha clan. Only a low exclamation was heard from the room, and the one who exposed the shock was not the frowning third Hokage, nor the two advisors with gloomy faces, but the member of the Hyuga clan Umbu who was still waiting for the Hokage's order in the room. He was in his heart he couldn't believe what he heard. Uchiha Haruno was most famous for the speed at which she awakened the three Magatama Sharingan. She was not like Itachi in the original work. Although they were both confirmed to have the Mangekyo Sharingan at a similar age, Itachi was, after all, a super genius who had been fighting on the battlefield since he was a few years old, among the mountains of corpses and seas of blood. Haruno's genius was only reflected in the age when she opened the three Magatama Sharingan, and she had no clear record of battle to the outside world, at this time. The hearts of the third Hokage and his two advisors were not as calm as they appeared. Instead, they also set off a storm. Two pairs of Mangekyo Sharingan, is this the confidence of the Uchiha clan's coup? Udatane Koharu murmured. Not good, she seemed to have suddenly realized something. So Shimura Danzo is in danger. Not just now, someone had conveyed the news that Narashikaku had asked the Shiranuiganma trio and a root member in the war room to intercept Uchiha Haruno who was chasing Shimura Danzo. When they saw it just now, they thought that either Shimura Danzo was seriously injured in the previous battle, or the girl from the Uchiha clan had no practical experience and was a little too arrogant. So they even blamed Shikaku. Yes, you read it right, blame. Will these two consultants die if they don't discuss the ninjas in the village all day long? They blamed Narashikaku for investing two luxurious three special jonin and a root member to intercept the girl. It would be great if they invested such a force in the front battlefield which was obviously more threatening. However, in the blink of an eye, they heard this news. Whether it was true or false, it made their hearts beat wildly. Sarutobi Hiruzen reacted one step faster than them. He immediately turned around and shouted to his direct Umbu. Go, tell Narashikaku this news immediately. A cold sweat slid down his forehead covered with age spots. He warned himself in his heart that this was impossible, and even hoped that he would subjectively doubt Uchiha Itachi's loyalty. According to the legend of that clan, doesn't it say that one must witness the death of the person you love most in order to gain the cursed power under the stimulation of great pain? But the eldest lady of the Uchiha family has never heard of her losing any relative since she was born, and she has never even been on the battlefield. How could she awaken such a power? The ominous feeling in his heart became more and more difficult to suppress, and Sarutobi Hiruzen began to doubt his intuition. Chapter 24. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The third Hokage even began to pray for Danzo, his old friend. Old man, you must not be in any danger. Well, although our Hokage watched Danzo's root organization being attacked as a test pawn from the beginning, he still ordered the people lurking around to rescue Danzo immediately if his life was in danger, but unexpectedly, Danzo took the initiative to die and ran in the opposite direction, and the surrounding forces were restrained by Uchiha Fugaku. Uchiha Itachi, who was tied to a chair, was also stunned when he saw such a big reaction from everyone. He didn't know how the battle outside had developed, but seeing that even the Hokage had such a big reaction, could it be that Danzo Shimura had been forced into a desperate situation by the girl who was a few years younger than him? Although he didn't like Danzo Shimura in his heart, except for those who joined the route since childhood, How many people in Konoha village like Danzo Shimura? As a member of the Umbu, Uchiha Itachi certainly knew that Danzo Shimura was the hardliner who had always advocated taking the initiative to completely eradicate the entire Uchiha clan. When he heard the news that Danzo might be in danger, he admitted that his heart was complicated, but he only knew one thing, that he didn't want the village to be harmed no matter what. The third Hokage in front of him had now come to his senses, and he asked Uchiha Itachi, "Do you have any more information? With your ability, how did you fall into that illusion?" Itachi Uchiha seemed to be in hesitation, he said uncertainly. It seemed to be some kind of ability that could affect other people's memories. I was on guard when I met her. She could use illusions. People in our clan often do this during combat practice. But despite my precautions, the memory of her greeting me during the day suddenly emerged in my mind. In the memory, young No's eyes were the Mangekyo Sharingan. Then I was not sure whether it was her in the real world or her in my memory who cast an illusion on me. I completely lost control of my body in an instant. Impossible. Mightyman N almost blurted out. How could there be such an illusion in the world? Uchiha Itachi, are you treating us like children? After hearing what Uchiha said, Uchiha Koharu seemed to no longer worry about Danzo. Instead, she began to doubt the truth of the information. There was no other reason, but the information seemed too unacceptable. The third generation was thinking, could this be the special ability of the Mangekyo Sharingan? First, there was a Koto Amatsukami who could directly modify other people's consciousness, and now there is an illusion that can be launched from memory. What a worrying clan. Such a weird bloodline ability is too unfriendly to the ninja village where ordinary ninjas make up the majority, and Uchiha Koharu asked as if she wanted to get to the bottom of it. What kind of illusion was that? What did you see after you were caught in that illusion? This. Uchiha Itachi seemed to become hesitant again, and he said uncertainly. I feel that ability just removes my resistance to illusions, allowing me to be caught in an instant. As for the rest, she may have used other illusions, which seemed to be some kind of psychological suggestion and hypnosis, to make me believe that Danzo was planning a rebellion. She also showed me evidence and kept inducing me to tell the Hokage about Danzo's rebellion for Konoha. The evidence included. At this point, he suddenly stopped talking, his thin lips tightly pursed. But he never said another word. The third Hokage opposite him did not ask what the evidence included. He wisely avoided this topic and fell into thought. Yes, this is how young No used illusion to hypnotize Uchiha Itachi, who used illusion to the extreme in the original work. Even with the crushing of the Mangekyo over the ordinary Sharingan, it was difficult for her to really make Uchiha Itachi do things against his inner heart, such as killing Sasuke. The reason why hypnosis was successful was that through suggestion and induction, Uchiha Itachi was convinced of the fact that Shimura Danzo had launched a rebellion. There are three prerequisites. First, Shimura Danzo did try to launch a rebellion during the reign of the third Hokage. Second, Uchiha Itachi has always disliked this root leader known as the Dark Ninja. Third, Uchiha Itachi really wanted to protect the Konoha ninja village, so he could be easily controlled by young No. Mito Kato Yen on the side seemed to have found a flaw in his words. Before, you said that you were under his illusion, but now you say that the so-called ability to activate from memory is just to remove your defense against illusions, and the real illusion that you were conveying the false information of Danzo's rebellion was another illusion of Uchiha Haruno. Are you playing with us like 3-year-old children? Uchiha Itachi did not answer, but just pursed his lips and looked at the third-generation Hokage. The third-generation Hokage hesitated for only a moment, and immediately chose to believe Uchiha Itachi's words, although it seems unlikely. How could a girl from the Uchiha clan who had not experienced any dangerous missions and had not lost any important people awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan at that age? He even considered whether this was another trap to force him to seek a decisive battle with Uchiha Fugaku immediately, so that Uchiha Fugaku would use the Koto Amatsukami that modifies people's consciousness. In terms of scheming and intelligence, he is no worse than Shimura Danzo, but he still chose to believe Uchiha Itachi after all. He came over in person, removed the seal on him in Itachi's surprised eyes, and asked him, "Are you willing to join me in stopping the rebellion of the Uchiha family?" Itachi's eyes were painful but firm. He nodded, as if he had thought of something, and said. I have a guess that I might be able to deal with Uchiha Haruno's special ability to launch illusions from memory. If my guess is right, then I can, and only I can, entangle her and buy time for the Hokage. Back to a little earlier, on the battlefield, Kakashi and Ashima led the Jonin to launch another round of ninjutsu attacks, causing Uchiha Fugaku to suffer great pain. He half knelt on the ground, with blood flowing from the corners of his eyes and nostrils. Susanoo also took on the first stage of the puppet skeleton, and under the attack of everyone, it seemed to be shaky. But just when everyone thought that the patriarch of the Uchiha clan was about to die, a strange flash flashed in his eyes of the Mangekyo Sharingan. Chapter 25. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Instantly, at this best attacking time when all the ninjas gathered together, Uchiha Fugaku gathered his pupil power again and exerted it to the extreme. The original Susanoo was immediately covered with a layer of blue Tengu armor. The changes that had been slowly happening on Susanoo now appeared on him like a fast-forward shot. The next moment, he raised the corners of his mouth, looked up at the sky, and revealed the signature laugh of the Uchiha clan. I originally wanted to spare your lives because you are both ninjas from Konoha, so that I can use you in the future. Now that you are stubborn and the Hokage is unwilling to take any risk to save you, you are no longer valuable as bait, and you are a trouble as a Jonin who can vote, so just die. Susanoo. 99. A hole suddenly opened in the middle of the chest of the green Susanoo phantom, and a Magatama was spinning in it. The orange Magatama spun at high speed and fired countless green chakra arrows, which actually penetrated through the layers of offensive ninjutsu of the crowd. In an instant, screams of pain were heard incessantly, bringing back the memories that Kakashi was most reluctant to face. The last time he heard such a sound was when he was fighting against other ninja villages, but this time he was in the center of his own village, facing the death of his companions. He himself relied on the dynamic vision of the Sharingan to barely avoid several green arrows. But out of the corner of his eye, he noticed that Asuma Sarutobi's left leg was scratched by a green arrow, taking away a ball of flesh and blood. Asuma! He shouted. I'm fine, no bones were broken. Asuma replied with a grim expression. The two escaped from the attack range and looked at the messy battlefield in front of them. It's really tough, the power of Susanoo. Seeing that the arrows were initially shot in all directions, they continued to form a straight line and attacked everyone, leaving no chance for anyone to breathe. Asuma shouted. Sarutobi clan members, form a wall of earth to block the attack. At this moment, 6 or 7 elite ninjas from the Sarutobi clan formed seals on the ground, and their seals came together to form several huge walls of earth to block this wave of attacks. Watch out behind you, Kakashi, who was on guard at the side, suddenly warned, and saw a residual shadow coming quickly. The sound of a sharp blade cutting through the air crossed half of the battlefield. In the distance, a whirling wind-like shuriken attacked his Sharingan's blind spot at a tricky angle, that is, the right rear. However, Hatake Kakashi, who had always been on guard against the blind spot of his Sharingan's vision, noticed this attack. His body responded in a very fast way. While giving a warning, the Sharingan in his left eye also captured the killer move hidden under the shadow of the Wind Magic Shuriken. Wind Magic Shuriken, Shadow Windmill. The next moment, he quickly formed seals with both hands in his hands, and a flash of blue lightning appeared in his hands. At the same time, in the shadow under the Windmill Shuriken, another identical Windmill Shuriken hidden suddenly revealed a human figure in a puff of smoke. It turned out to be the girl from the Uchiha clan who had just left the battlefield. Her charge this time was almost equivalent to sending herself in front of Kakashi's Raikiri. But Kakashi suddenly realized something was wrong. Since the opponent was a member of the Uchiha clan, how could he not know that his Sharingan could see chakra clearly? How dare he use this kind of sleight of hand to bully ordinary ninjas? However, he really couldn't figure out how Uchiha Haruno could avoid his sure-hit Raikiri, unless it was just a shadow clone that evenly distributed chakra. Kakashi was also one of the victims of the eldest lady persona that the girl usually established in Konoha village. The next second, Uchiha Haruno's figure spun at high speed due to inertia, and countless shurikens with detonating tags tied to the tails, bitter and thousands of shurikens were thrown from the Furisode of her kimono to the Sarutobi clan ninjas in all directions. Furisode 1000 wins. But this rotation on the spot also made it even more difficult for her to dodge Kakashi's Raikiri, suicidal attack. Was it really a shadow clone? Kakashi's eyes revealed a hint of enlightenment. His Sharingan had begun to subconsciously search for the possible location of the girl's body on the battlefield. With a bang, Kakashi felt that his Raikiri hit something extremely hard. Even though he had been through many wars, his brain short-circuited for a moment. He looked at the thing that appeared in front of him, which seemed a little familiar. It was a row of white ribs like a puppet mechanism. Kakashi's consciousness paused for a moment, and then his pupils suddenly shrank to the size of a needle tip. Boom boom boom, the detonating tags that the girl shot in all directions with the Furisode 1000 winds detonated in the middle of the Sarutobi clan ninjas in an instant, and several ninjas were engulfed in flames, completing the first harvest. Under the effect of the shock wave of the explosion, the ninja tools that she had thrown out before hit the white ribs and bounced off again, causing secondary casualties to the Sarutobi clan ninjas, many wounded soldiers who could have been rescued. Turned into hornets' nests, the girl who appeared in front of everyone leisurely spun half a circle like a butterfly on the spot, and while removing the inertia of her whole body, she drew her sword and stabbed Kakashi, who was blocked by the Raikiri and could not withdraw for a while. Kakashi's instincts, which he had experienced in many battles, made him come back to his senses from the brief shock, and the blood-stained blade pierced his shoulder by a hair's breadth and missed the vitals. Until he withdrew and flew back, Kakashi was still somewhat fortunate that he was not hit by the giant Susanoo palms. The next second, he saw a scene that made him tear his eyes out. A huge skeleton wrapped in chakra that was beating like white flames appeared on the girl's petite body. Kakashi just learned that the name of that thing was Susanoo. Two scarlet eyeballs appeared in the porcelain-like white skull of Susanoo, and its hands, which were already wrapped in muscles and skin, were tightly closed on the top of its head, as if it was slapping a mosquito to death, but blood was dripping continuously. The next moment, Kakashi felt that he was shouting loudly, but in fact no sound came out of his mouth. The familiar feeling came to his heart for the first time in a long time, and he finally knew why he was not attacked by the palm. Susanoo's tightly closed, pale hands in a folded position slowly opened towards him, as if showing something, and among them was a pool of blood and flesh of Asuma Sarutobi. Chapter 26. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Asuma Sarutobi looked at Kakashi with his bloodshot eyes, as if he wanted to say something to him, but there was no life in them. Against the backdrop of the pale giant hand, the scarlet object was particularly dazzling, and an opportune warning sounded in his heart. The latest intelligence is that the enemy Uchiha Haruno is suspected of possessing the Mangekyo Sharingan. If you see this person, please be alert immediately. How is the situation on your side? Kakashi did not reply. He lowered his head silently, hiding his left eye under the crooked forehead protector in the shadow. After a breath, he raised his head, closed his right eye, and suddenly opened his left eye with a scar. The three Magatama rotated into the shape of a black three-blade dart. This was the ability he gained after he killed Rin with his own hands shortly after the Battle of Kanabi Bridge, but because of his body's discomfort, he could hardly use this power in the first few years. But now, an inexplicable urge suddenly appeared in his heart, and he felt that he could use it to wipe out everything where his pupils were focused. God's power. Susanoo's white arms and the surrounding space were distorted, but Yang No's mouth showed a smile. In this way, the number of times it can be used is consumed. Without maintaining the state of Susanoo, Asuma's body lost support and fell to the ground. Yang No instantly moved to the side of Uchiha Fugaku. This was not a special game of bullying by a special jonin like the previous one against the Shiranui trio. All those who can be on the field now are powerful ninjas selected from hundreds of thousands. Although they are not in good condition due to long-term battles and injuries, the results just achieved are better than she expected, and they also tricked Kakashi's Kamui skills. Kakashi covered his face and groaned in pain. The surrounding ninjas quickly put him under protection. The girl came to Fugaku's side lightly in his shocked eyes, and the flying ribbons were like a spinning butterfly. In the few sudden moves just now, the girl in front of him did it in a way he could not expect. Taking advantage of the time difference in the opponent's acquisition of intelligence, he cooperated with him perfectly. He first disguised himself as a windmill of shuriken shadow and rushed forward, then, he used a self-destruct attack among the elite ninjas who were densely positioned to resist Fugaku's Susanoo ability. Finally, while activating Susanoo to resist Raikiri, he stabbed Kakashi with the knife in his hand. The suddenly appearing Susanoo chose Asuma, who was injured in the leg, as the target of attack. He inflicted the greatest damage to the enemy and exerted his ability to the limit. He completed the decisive victory against a large part of the enemy's elite forces. If she were asked to do it again, she might not think she could do it. The girl looked at Hitaki Kakashi, who became exhausted because of the release of Kamui, and a group of ninjas who were anxious because the Hokage had not appeared. "Chief, it seems that the balance of victory has tilted towards us." She threw a bloody bandage on the ground and said to him, "Fortunately, we have fulfilled our mission and the traitor Shimura Danzo has been killed." Everyone was silent. At this time, a surviving root member spoke tremblingly. "This is the bandage that Danzo-sama wrapped around his body. It's impossible." Uchiha Fugaku's eyes flashed with a strange color, and he said quickly, "I didn't expect you to open the Mangekyo Sharingan. You are truly the pride of our clan. You also killed Danzo and avenged your brother Shisui. With such a great contribution, it seems that I, who have been the clan leader for half my life, am finally old. After tonight, you and I will share the power of Konoha." Well, Danzo only ordered someone to poison Shisui and then tried to take his eyes, but in this time and space where the girl changed history, Shisui was poisoned and successfully used the instant body technique to escape, and was finally rescued by the Uchiha clan. And then the pair of eyes inexplicably appeared in Fugaku's eye sockets, but our clan leader didn't seem to have the intention to explain this matter. In short, he pinned the blame for killing water on Danzo. As for Danzo, what opinion could a dead man have? Uchiha Fugaku was shocked and surprised at Yongno's strength. He was not in a very good condition after releasing that large-scale Susanoo ability. He only maintained an initial state with only a few ribs and even the illusory palms that had not condensed. He was holding his forehead and gasping for breath just now, and he was not feeling better until now, while they were talking. Fire style, fire dragon flame bullet. Fire style, great fireball technique. Two huge flames attacked from two directions, engulfing their figures. The two moved to the sides at high speed, leaving the range of the fireball bombardment. Their bodies were protected by the white and green Susanos, and they did not suffer any damage. "Have you finally caught the big fish?" Uchiha Yono showed a hint of sarcasm at the corner of his mouth and looked at Uchiha Fugaku. "However, it seems that your son was also fished out, clan leader." The one who appeared was Sarutobi Hiruzen, who had taken off his Hokage cloak and was left with only a set of black ninja armor, and Uchiha Itachi, who was dressed in Anbu clothes. "Itachi! What's going on? Are you crazy?" Uchiha Fugaku roared, seeing that his side was about to win the bitter tower tonight. These two people suddenly appeared, one of whom was his son who he had high hopes for, which really made him angry and surprised. Needless to say, he was angry, as the future heir of the Uchiha clan, his eldest son, Uchiha Itachi's ass was already crooked. But what was unexpected was that he thought Itachi was wavering between the clan and the village, so he finally chose to be neutral tonight. This is why for so long, I haven't seen Itachi on either side. The reason for Itachi's appearance, of course, he didn't know that Itachi had been delayed for so long by the girl using various means before joining the battlefield. Behind these two people appeared all the forces that the Hokage could now use, including the ninjas of the two clans led by Nara Shikaku and Yamanaka Inoichi who had been in command, as well as several tribesmen from the Akimichi and Inazuka clans. This is the last trump card of the Hokage. With a swish, the figure of Hitaki Kakashi also appeared behind the Hokage. He was pale, lowered his head and said nothing. Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at Kakashi and said, "Kakashi, how has the situation on the battlefield changed while I was rushing here? Where's Asuma? Why can't I see him?" Hearing this, Kakashi turned around mechanically, allowing the third Hokage to see the body of Sarutobi Asuma, who was already flattened and was being tried to be resuscitated by two medical ninjas. Although he had a bad premonition, Sarutobi Hiruzen's pupils still shrank to the size of a needle tip, and then he stared at his son's body on the ground, and after a long while he closed his eyes and sighed softly. That's right, I understand. He died in the line of duty. Let them stop. There's no need to waste chakra anymore. After a moment of silence, he asked calmly. Who did it? Kakashi asked with difficulty. It was Uchiha Haruno, she used. He was about to explain all this, but was interrupted by Sarutobi Hiruzen. I understand, you tried your best and you worked hard, Kakashi. Kakashi looked even more ashamed. Chapter 27. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned his attention back to the two pairs of Mangekyo masters in the field and asked. Fugaku, I didn't expect things to develop to this point. But now that things have come to this, there must be an end. Uchiha Fugaku laughed sadly. It's really rare that you finally took the initiative to meet me after all these years. I am the ninja who has the hardest time seeing you in this village these past few years, Hokage-sama. He gritted his teeth and spoke almost word by word. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked indifferent. I think you understand why. So you are the one who got the pair of Mangekyo. Uchiha Fugaku grinned and pointed at his eyes. That's right, before he died, Shisui entrusted it to me, asking me to use his eyes to witness a future of revenge, a Konoha ruled by the Uchiha. No, Shisui won't do that, he's not that kind of person. Fugaku didn't refute, he actually took back his Mangekyo and turned back to his normal state, even the Susanoo arm surrounded by green chakra disappeared, he sighed and said helplessly. Lord Hokage, what kind of person am I in your opinion? If I say that I, the head of the Uchiha clan, have never thought of attempting a coup, would you believe me? Sarutobi Hiruzen's old face was still expressionless. He nodded, then shook his head and said. As Sarutobi Hiruzen, your former comrade in arms, I am willing to believe it. As the third Hokage who shoulders the future of the entire village, I cannot believe it. Shisui's four-cornered shuriken-shaped kaleidoscope instantly reappeared in Uchiha Fugaku's eyes. This is the original sin of power. With this kind of power, no matter how careful you are, you can't avoid this step, so come on, let's put an end to it all. After saying this, he rushed towards the Hokage at high speed with the green Susanoo. Yang-no wanted to step forward to help a little, but she was stopped by a familiar yet unfamiliar figure. Staring at the other party's umbu dress and the three Magatama Sharingan in his pupils, Yang-no laughed. Hey, isn't this my defeated enemy? He came out of the Hokage's small dark room so quickly. Thank you for your information, which allows us to free up our hands to eliminate Danzo's forces first. Itachi's face was expressionless, and he said to the girl. It seems that the enemy I want to deal with is you. By the way, that's why I can't let you interfere in the Battle of Hokage tonight. His eyes made Yang-no feel a little strange. Yang-no tentatively threw out several shurikens with silk threads behind them, then he saw that the other party also fought back in the same way. Both of them opened their eyes to the three Magatama Sharingan. Ding! The Yamabakiri in her hand once again collided with the kunai in Itachi's hand, splashing a ball of sparks, and then the two of them distanced themselves at the same time. Itachi spit out a ball of orange-red fireball from his mouth. Yang-no did not choose to confront directly with ninjutsu, but continued to use the instant body technique to distance herself. When the fireball was about to go out, as she expected, several shurikens, kunai and other ninja tools of different sizes flew out. Of the fireball, Yang-no was holding a katana and a kunai in her left hand. Facing the attacks of these ninja tools, she blocked them if she could and avoided them if she could. At this moment, suddenly a shuriken that she had avoided spun and attacked her from behind. Of course, this is an old routine that is commonplace for anyone in the Uchiha clan. The corners of Yang-no's mouth curved slightly, and she leaned over to let herself. Her body was suspended in midair, avoiding the shadow shurikens above and below, and she used the hilt of her sword to penetrate between the two shurikens, using their inertia to quickly approach Uchiha Itachi. The blade in her hand, which had already been cut to a point of curling, glowed coldly. Facing the girl's approach, Itachi also did not dare to get close to her. According to the intelligence he had, Uchiha Haruno was believed to have the power of the Mangekyo, although she had not used that power until now and seemed to want to have a fair fight with him, but he would not take it lightly. What's more, although he was better in physical skills, Haruno's swordsmanship gave him a headache, so he could only choose a method similar to Danzo, using long-range ninjutsu attacks that the girl was not good at, constantly compressing Haruno's space for movement. Boom! Facing another orange-red fireball, Yang No did not choose to activate Susanoo to resist it, but chose to dodge again, risking her clothes being burnt. She was still observing the abnormality of her opponent. There was something wrong with the chakra. Yang No saw the abnormal fluctuation of chakra in Uchiha Itachi's body in her eyes. Could it be that the illusion has not been lifted yet? No, it's impossible. If that's the case, let alone being an enemy of Uchiha, he probably won't be able to pass the level of joining the battlefield. There are Hyuga clan ninjas or perception-type ninjas around the Hokage, combined with the strange look in his eyes when he looked at himself before, and the tone as if he never knew himself. Uchiha Yang No quickly came up with the answer in his heart. Itachi is indeed a tactical genius. He came up with a countermeasure so quickly, facing the weirdness of Uchiha Yang No, who can directly launch illusions from the memories of others. Ability: Uchiha Itachi actually chose to cast a certain kind of illusion on his brain, directly blocking all his memories of Uchiha Haruno from his mind. What a tricky illusion and terrifying battle intuition. He is worthy of being a genius ninja in the original work who can repeatedly win by surprise even when he is not as strong as his opponent. While thinking, both sides did not stop their hands, and it was another set of standard Uchiha clan ninja tools thrown at each other, and through the Sharingan, looking for flaws in the battle process. Both parties present are already very familiar with this process. She is not in a hurry anyway, there are still many backups, just wave it casually. Let's see what kind of power our clan leader can exert when facing the old man of the third generation. Now rely on the same ordinary Sharingan as him to play with Itachi first. Seeing these two so-called genius ninjas of the Uchiha clan fighting each other in the distance, it seems difficult to separate. Nara Shikaku shed a trace of cold sweat and murmured. Block, block. Although according to the intelligence, Uchiha Haruno has the ability to use Susanoo and the illusion from memory that is impossible to resist, but did my plan and Itachi's tactics still work? It seems that Uchiha Itachi can delay her for a while, at least if the other party does not intend to use the double Mangekyo. As a battlefield advisor, he must take every variable into consideration. This is the first time he has faced such a difficult ability as the Mangekyo. At this time, Shikaku's brain is working rapidly. The only person on our side who can delay Uchiha Haruno is probably Uchiha Itachi, who cast a memory-sealing illusion on him. In addition to Haruno, facing the remaining Uchiha Fugaku's Sandaime, he has to bear the risk of being controlled by Koto Amatsukami at any time. In front of the Uchiha's weird ability, his usual strategies and calculations seem to have become useless. He shifted his attention to another battlefield. Chapter 28. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shuriken Shadow Clone. The third Hokage quickly formed a seal. He created a large number of shurikens, attacking Uchiha Fugaku from all directions, but none of them could penetrate his Susanoo armor and threaten him. You are really old and confused, wasting chakra on useless ninjutsu attempts. Uchiha Fugaku laughed. Since both sides had torn their faces apart, he did not intend to leave a trace of face for the Hokage. He shouted. Unfortunately, Susanoo's defense has no blind spots. The next second, his forward figure suddenly stopped. It turned out that at some point, on the ruins that had been plowed by the third Hokage with the fire dragon flame bullet, the soil layer broke open, and Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly appeared in a hole. The beheading technique in the heart. Just when Uchiha Fugaku passed by there, he suddenly jumped up and appeared inside Susanoo. A black diamond stick hit Uchiha Fugaku. It turned out that a trap had been set at that time. Uchiha Fugaku understood it in his heart. As the patriarch of the Uchiha clan with rich combat experience, even though he was suddenly bullied to the front by the opponent, he still did not panic. Not only did he dodge the attack of the third generation in an instant, but he also used physical skills to fight back. Originally, his plan was to approach the third generation Hokage directly and use Koto Amatsukami at a safe distance to control him, but now it seems that the third generation who was standing in the distance and using the Fire Dragon Flame Bomb and Shuriken Shadow Clone was just a shadow clone. The one holding his signature weapon, the Vajra Rui Staff, is the real body. Ding, the ninja tool and the Vajra Rui Staff collided again, and a giant monkey demon's face suddenly stretched out from the end of the Vajra Rui Staff, biting towards Uchiha Fugaku. At this moment, the Mangekyo in Uchiha Fugaku's eyes was looking directly at the Sandaime Hokage, but just before Kotoama Tsukumi launched, a moment of hesitation suddenly flashed through his mind. What if this was also a shadow clone? What should he do then? In this moment of hesitation, the huge monkey demon's head bit his shoulder, and tore off a piece of flesh and blood with a groan of pain. His body was also knocked far away, but because of this, he was able to break away from the state of hand-to-hand combat with the Hokage, and Susanoo began to gather outside his body again. As a family known for its strategy, Nara Shikaku, who loves shogi, knows the principle of Tianji's horse racing, seeing that the two top horses of the enemy were restrained by one top horse and one middle horse of his own side. He also made a key move, which was to let the remaining middle horse in his hand eat the opponent's bottom horse. Yes, in the summary of a series of intelligence obtained before, Shikaku divided the two parties of tonight's coup into several levels. At the beginning, in his estimation, he has the Sandaime Hokage, which is a top horse, and the Konoha elite corps force led by Mikai Kakashi and Ashima is also a top horse. At the same time, he also has the power of other large families with wavering positions, which is equivalent to a middle horse in his estimation. The rest is Danzo's root organization, which is also a middle horse. These two horses can be regarded as the third party of tonight's coup. In his initial understanding, the Uchiha clan leader and his clan members together could be considered a medium horse, and Uchiha Itachi, as the first genius in the clan, was also a medium horse. When he calculated, he took the enemy's leniency and counted Uchiha Itachi on the enemy's side. As for the remaining Uchiha Haruno, although she was known as the second genius of their clan, she had never participated in actual combat after all, and he thought she was just a runaway horse. Therefore, this is why he didn't understand why the Uchiha clan dared to launch a coup, and no one would think that such a coup would have any chance of success. Smart people are always suspicious. He began to make tests, first watching the root organization belonging to Danzo, unilaterally bearing the attack of the Uchiha clan for various reasons. After failing to test any trump cards, and Danzo seemed to want to hide his trump cards, he split the assault group that could have formed a runaway horse into several medium horses, and constantly used the refueling tactics to test. It was just because he was not sure whether the other party had any special means of the tailed beast level that could catch all of his own side in one fell swoop. He had seen the Amaterasu black flame sealed by the scroll through the telescope technique of the third generation. The result of the test came out. The Uchiha clan leader who possessed Shursui Mangekyo became a top horse in his calculation, and the remaining Uchiha clan members were a bottom horse. As a bottom horse, Uchiha Haruno also chased after Shimura Danzo, who had lost most of the members of the root and fell from a middle horse to a bottom horse. He also sent a bottom horse to chase Haruno, that is, the Shiranui four-member team. The result was naturally a failure. They all underestimated the hidden strength of the girl, which was not just a bottom horse. At the same time, the opponent's middle horse, Uchiha Itachi, jumped to the side and said that Uchiha Haruno had opened the Mangekyo Sharingan. At this time, the Hokage and Shikaku, who realized that things were not going well, decided to show their cards. The first news they received when they rushed to the front line was that the Jonins led by Kakashi and Ashima, who were supposed to be the middle horses, were attacked by the two upper horses of the other side. Because of the time difference in intelligence, they were reduced from the middle horses to the lower horses, and a small half of the living forces were either dead or injured. So far, it can be said that all the cards of the other side have been tested. The situation seems to be favorable to the other side. Under his suggestion, the young man who jumped back from the Uchiha clan has at least a way to entangle the upper horse of the other side, Uchiha Yangno. Therefore, such a situation appeared on the field at this time. The two upper horses of the other side were respectively restrained by one upper horse and one middle horse of their own side, and the Jonins led by Kakashi, who received the assistance of him and the Nara, Yamanaka and other families, became a middle horse again. the remaining members of the Uchiha family who left the two Mangekyo holders became a lower horse, with the situation now developing. Nara Shikaku had no time to care about how many times he had made misjudgments and mistakes, because he knew that in a real war, even with careful plans and clever arrangements, encountering these was inevitable, not to mention that this was a coup against his own side. He immediately gave the simplest order, which was to lead the remaining elite ninja troops to eat the opponent's dismounted horse that was watching the battle from afar. Of course, he would not speak out the simulated words in his mind, but directly ordered. "Kakashi, are you okay?" The response was a silent nod. He had just received treatment and chakra replenishment from the medical team in the rear. Shikaku looked at the people behind him again. Behind him were Yuhi Kurinai, Yamanaka Inoichi, Akimichi Choza and Akimichi Tofu, Marino Ibiki, Inazuka Tsumuji, Aburame Shirwei, Aburame Shikuro, Mitarashi Anko and others. Even Hyuga Takashi and Hyuga Takuma of the Hyuga family joined their side with shame on their faces. A little further away, there were Aburame Tokujin, and Zhu Leitong and a young ninja from the route who had just joined them. In secret, he also saw the masked figure of would-release Tenzo. After all, the Hokage is the symbol of Konoha, the Hokage is dispatched as the general, and the remaining ninjas naturally come one after another, like ants gathering for a while. In this way, the number of people on our side is comparable to that of a horse. Shikaku thought to himself, this is the essence of Konoha's power, but it is a pity that there is a lack of elite jonin as the core. Ashima is dead, Might Guy is seriously injured, and Kakashi's condition is really not good. Then Nara Shikaku made a decision and said, "From now on, we will implement the plan to wipe out all remaining members of the Uchiha clan." Chapter 29. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Following Nara Shikaku's order, the elite ninjas began to move. They crossed half of the battlefield and attacked the Uchiha clan members who were watching the battle on the sidelines. Facing them were hundreds of pairs of Sharingan that were either hateful, confused, or tired. Tonight, they had been shocked too much. The clan leader, who was already powerful in their memories, and Yang No, who was known as a genius in the Uchiha clan, showed power tonight that they dared not even imagine. But even so, with a force several times stronger than they imagined, they still could not achieve what they thought should be an easy victory. At this moment, everyone was a little confused. They had not experienced too many battles, their physical strength was still there, and their number was not reduced. But their morale was lost. Seeing the Konoha ninjas attacking them, they could only grit their teeth and pick up their weapons to fight. Swish. The shadow under the feet of an Uchiha clan member who had opened a Magatama Sharingan was entangled by a group of shadows moving like snakes, and he could not move. He waved the huge fan in his hand and knocked away the ninjas who were shooting at him from all directions. But in the end, his body was smashed to pieces by the high-speed rotating teeth of Inazuka's claws. Fire style, Great Dragon Fire Technique. As Uchiha Yashiro quickly formed a seal, an orange-red dragon-shaped flame surged. The ninjas on the Hokage's side flew back, and a Chunin who was unable to avoid it was engulfed in flames and let out a terrifying howl. As soon as the flames in front of Uchiha Yashiro died down, countless giant trees attacked him. Wood Release, Great Forest Technique. The unique wood release technique attracted many people's attention. The one who made the move was Tenzo, wearing an umbu mask. Hidden Shadow Snake Hand. Several high-speed pythons extended from Mitarashi Anko's arms. They actually climbed along the wood created by wood release, Great Forest Technique, like climbing a tree, and actually completed a cooperation with Tenzo, making the already powerful wood release, Great Forest Technique even stronger by several times. Uchiha Yashiro retreated quickly, but the opponent's ninjutsu was faster than him. Suddenly, he seemed to see the saliva dripping from the python's teeth on the wood. Behind him, the shadow had left the ground at some point, like a blooming black lotus, blocking his retreat. Is it over? That he had just thought of giving up when he saw a wind blade composed of a high concentration of wind attribute chakra passing by, and the ferocious snake heads and wood were neatly split in half, with an extremely smooth cut. Wind style, Vacuum Wave. There is only one person in the clan who can use such a powerful wind-style ninjutsu. Sure enough, after being rescued and using the substitution technique to avoid the shadow behind him, Uchiha Yashiro, who fell to the ground, saw that the person who appeared was the clan elder, Uchiha Moriyuki. "Don't give up." Uchiha Shiyuki shouted angrily, "The clan leader will win soon." Then, he led the clan members to join the battle, and the fire escape used the wind escape, and the flames burned more and more vigorously. The ninja cats were also summoned in the white smoke, and they fought together with the enemy's ninja dogs and other summoned beasts as auxiliary forces on the battlefield. Boom! An old Uchiha ninja spit out a huge fireball from his mouth, but it only hit the wood of several Konoha Jonin's substitute jutsu. Then, when he wanted to turn around to deal with the threat behind him, he was injured in many battles for Konoha in his early years, so he couldn't avoid the collision of a Kimchi Ding's meat bomb chariot behind him. Ah! A woman's painful voice suddenly appeared on the battlefield. Yuhi Kurenai was defeated in the illusion duel with Uchiha Inahori, and bent over with her hands covering her face in pain. Success! The kunai in Uchiha Tiehua's hand flashed with cold light, and the next moment, it pierced directly into Zihi Hong's back. As blood splashed, the 3 Magatama pupils in Uchiha Tiehua's eyes suddenly shrank. 8 trigrams palm. Tiehua's body was directly knocked away, and he coughed up blood in midair. Hinata Shao supported the injured Yuhi Kurenai and sent her to the back. Bingzu Leitong held a black knife and tried to finish off Uchiha Tiehua, but was stopped by another elder of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Jin. Earth escape, clay falling from the sky. As Uchiha Jin quickly formed seals with the help of the Sharingan, a pool of black clay suddenly fell from the sky, trapping the bodies of several ninjas. Fire style, dragon fire technique. Then a straight line of flame spurted out of his mouth, crossing the battlefield and turning the ninjas trapped in the mud into clay products. In the ninjutsu, Super Beast fake painting, the eagle made of black ink saved the ninjutsu Rado from the clay and sea of fire. Rado's whole body was burned by the flames, and he retreated in a panic with the help of his temporary companion Sai. The 2 sides, who were ninjas from the same village a day ago, now began to attack and kill each other without any bottom line, perhaps for survival, or perhaps for the right to speak in the village. The scene became extremely bloody and ugly. However, as time went on, the ninjas on the side of the Hokage overwhelmed the other side in terms of quantity, quality and cutting-edge combat power. Of the Uchiha clan, so victory is already at hand. With a swish, Uchiha Munio, who fought desperately, swung his ninja sword and cut the neck of a special jonin of the Sarutobi family, who was once a companion with him on a mission, but both sides showed no mercy. He could hardly remember how many ninjas from the same village he had killed tonight. Just when he was about to take a breath and prepare to continue to perform the fire escape ninjutsu, the next moment, a dark blue lightning suddenly flashed in front of his eyes. Munio reflexively wanted to dodge backwards, but until the next moment when he found that his body was out of control, looking down, he realized that the lightning that appeared in front of him was only caused by his body being pierced from behind. Kakashi retracted his right hand that was using the Raikiri. His current condition was not very good, but he finally solved this problem. With the fall of Munio, who was the backbone of the force, the battle seemed to have no suspense. He swept his eyes across the field, trying to find Nara Shikaku, who was in charge of the command. In Kakashi's view, the family of his deceased best friend Obito had shed too much blood for this battle, and the same was true for Konoha, which he wanted to protect. There was really no need to do so again. If we continue to fight like this, as long as we capture the remaining people as prisoners, we may be able to make the enemy leader surrender. Unconsciously, his eyes met the calm dark eyes of Nara Shikaku. Those eyes, which were no different from those in Kakashi's memory, suddenly made him shudder. He understood the meaning of those eyes and nodded silently. The civil strife tonight has developed to the current situation, and it can only be ended by the demise of the Uchiha clan. Forgive me, Obito, in the end, I still failed to protect Rin, failed to protect your family, and failed to protect Konoha. Chapter 30. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Kakashi sighed deeply in his heart, but resolutely mobilized the last of his chakra, and the blue light of Raikiri flashed on his hand again. He rushed towards Uchiha Moriyuki. Suddenly, Kakashi felt the space in front of him distorted, and then a figure in black suddenly appeared, and his Raikiri hit the huge round fan in his hand. Originally, the round fan was just a little thicker, But it took on the powerful ninjutsu in Kakashi's hand that was said to be able to cut through lightning, just. When he was in doubt, with a bang, he suddenly felt the raikiri in his hand bounced back, and his body flew backwards, and the cells around his body were stung by the backlash like needles. Fortunately, he was rescued by his companions from the Akimichi clan who came over. What happened? Nara Shikaku realized that his sharpest spear was blocked by a person who suddenly appeared, and he was suddenly very nervous. Too many things tonight were beyond his expectations as a military advisor. Looking across the battlefield, he keenly observed that even the people of the Uchiha clan were surprised by the appearance of that figure. The man was dressed in black, with black hair flying on his head. He wore a red mask with black patterns that only revealed his right eye, and his aura was mysterious and powerful. The mask, yes, the tiger-striped mask aroused the deepest fear in the hearts of ninjas like Akimichi Tofu, who had participated in the Nine-Tails incident 9 years ago. Uchiha. The Nine-Tails attack on the village, was it really you who directed it behind the scenes? Although the man was dressed in black, the 3 Magatama symbols on the fan clearly showed that the other party was on the side of the Uchiha. His fan was strange. Was it a ninja tool? It could deflect such a powerful ninjutsu. Fire escaped. The masked man didn't mean to say hello. The storm is dancing, that he spit out a spiral fire snake that was spinning and dancing, and it swept across the entire battlefield in an instant. Many ninjas were unable to dodge this large-scale fire attack and screamed in the sea of fire. There is a flaw, that after witnessing this powerful fire escape, Nara Shikaku was more convinced of the masked man's identity as an Uchiha clan member, but he also keenly captured the opportunity. The spiral flame spit out by the masked man linked his body with the shadow created by the fire snake, creating a perfect opportunity for Nara Shikaku to use the shadow binding technique. The overlapping parts of the shadows under the feet of the two gradually merged and then straightened into a straight line. Seeing that this ninjutsu was successful, Nara Shikaku breathed a sigh of relief. No matter who the other party was, he would control him first and then slowly test his abilities. He didn't know how the masked man appeared out of thin air. It didn't look like a teleportation technique. The enemy is likely related to the Nine-Tailed Fox Rebellion, so be careful. His abilities are weird. Don't use melee attacks, try to use long-range ninjutsu to deal with him. Understood. 2 members of the Umbu directly under the Hokage stood up and made hand seals. Wind style, wind cutting technique. Earth escape, rock pillar spear, a spear made of wind blades and earth pillars pierced through the masked man's body. Did it work? Nara Shikaku stared at the black figure without blinking. The smoke and dust dispersed, and the figure was still standing there intact, as if it had never changed. What on earth is going on? Kakashi's Sharingan stared at the masked man without blinking. The man hadn't dodged, but his ninjutsu attacks didn't work. Is it the ability to invalidate ninjutsu? The next moment, he threw out 4 shurikens held between his fingers, attacking the man's body, but they were also avoided. Behind the tiger mask, Uchiha Obito looked at Hatake Kakashi in front of him. Facing this former close friend and companion, he no longer had any feelings in his heart. Even the strong hatred that he had felt when he witnessed Kakashi using Raikiri to pierce through Lin's chest disappeared after he learned the whole story. Kakashi was just doing what he should do as a ninja of Konoha, but is what should be done. What you know is extremely painful but have to do, justice. He has seen the nature of this world clearly. As long as this world continues to operate, tragedy is inevitable. Some people will say, even so, even if tragedy still happens, human beings should not stop. Yes, they shine like their teachers, always the center of attention, as if the world revolves around them. They can always tell one great truth after another, and perhaps some people will believe it, as he once did. But now Uchiha Obito will no longer argue with those people. He will say, since tragedy is still happening, perhaps it is this world that should stop. The masked man in front of Kakashi suddenly spoke. What a futile struggle, it's useless. Before I can truly redeem you, let this empty world fall deeper into the flames of hell. A few hours ago, it was already dark, on the outskirts of the Uchiha clan, close to the border of the village. As early as several months ago, Uchiha Obito, who frequently tried to enter and exit here, knew that someone in the Uchiha clan had noticed his existence, after rounds of secret probing. The two of them met for the first time inside an abandoned shrine. As soon as he opened his mouth, he expressed his surprise at the girl who introduced herself as Uchiha Haruno and awakened the ability of the Mangekyo at such a young age. Then he confessed his life experience to the girl. Of course, he was Uchiha Madara, who survived the Battle of the Valley of the End and lived to this day. "Oh, okay, then as a junior, since you have the same Mangekyo as me, I will call you Uchiha Madara for now." The girl responded. Obito, wearing a yellow mask with black stripes, nodded. "Madara or whatever, it's all in the past. It's just a name to me, it doesn't mean much." He confessed his identity and continued. "Now that you know my identity, you should know that I have the same hatred for Konoha and those Uchiha clan members who chose to betray me and stay in the village, right? Yes, that's why I want to meet you." "Oh. It's very simple." The corners of the girl's mouth slightly raised, forming two beautiful dimples. "I will assist you in your revenge against Konoha, but there is a condition in exchange: you cannot attack the Uchiha clan." Chapter 31. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Even though Obito claimed to be indifferent to the world, he could still recall the surprise on his face when he looked at the girl's kaleidoscope behind his mask. The crimson moon in the sky was covered by dark clouds. The battle on the field continued. Uchiha Obito was like an outsider walking on the battlefield, and even let himself fall into memories, so, in the process, his body took several more attacks, but the attackers did not get any effect. He has always been like an independent person, walking in every corner of the ninja world, until today. He can finally get a little interest, but not too much. The conversation with Uchiha Haruno made him change some plans. The two sides reached more than just a simple deal. Tonight, he had been watching in the dark, but now it was finally time to take action. Thinking of this, his figure suddenly disappeared in a twist, avoiding the attacks of several members of the Umbu using ninja tools. His body seemed to have never been controlled by Nara Shikaku's shadow. The figure that disappeared appeared behind Kakashi in the next breath. A knee strike directly knocked Kakashi away. Kakashi rolled on the ground for a few times after being knocked away. When he was about to stand up after the force was released, the masked man mysteriously teleported in front of him and kicked him away with a few consecutive kicks, facing the strange ability of the masked man. Kakashi, whose chakra was almost exhausted in the previous series of battles, was close to the limit both physically and mentally, and with his eyes because of the use of Kamui. For a while, he was beaten all over the field by the masked man. Wood style, thorn killing technique. Tenzo and the others continued to act according to Shikaku's plan. He directly used wood style to control the opponent. Shikaku had no way to deal with this unreasonable ability. He could only try different methods. Maybe the masked man was only immune to a certain type of ninjutsu. Even if it didn't work, he could still collect intelligence on the opponent. This time, facing countless intensive attacks, can you still dodge the kunai as easily as you did? Secret technique, insect jade. Secret technique, insect tornado. Aburame Shirwei and Aburame Shirhei launched attacks from two directions at the same time. The clan's secret technique drove countless dense parasitic insects like layers of black gauze, wrapping the masked man in it. In the other direction, in the center of the battlefield, the huge green Susanoo controlled by Uchiha Fugaku was using the spiral sword in his hand to continuously attack the figures of several Sarutobi Hiruzen who were fleeing in the field. While attacking, he also sneered. "Sarutobi, it seems that you are really old. In order to deal with that technique, you don't hesitate to use these shadow clones. Unfortunately, this is useless. No matter how many shadow clones you use, you can't break through the defense. It's just a waste of your limited chakra. Stop holding on to the throne of Hokage, it's time to let someone younger and stronger lead the village." Sarutobi Hiruzen said coldly. "After what happened tonight, with your hands stained with the blood of fellow ninjas, do you still think you can become the Kage of Konoha?" Uchiha Fugaku sneered. "Why not? There are two people in our Uchiha clan who have opened the Mangekyo Sharingan. On the contrary, if we lose our Uchiha clan, Konoha will not be able to survive." Without waiting for him to reply, Uchiha Fugaku quickly formed a seal, and a huge fireball suddenly spurted out of the green Susanoo's body, covering several of Sarutobi Hiruzen's shadow clones. Art Fire Escape Ho Fireball. Water Style, Water Array Wall. In the flame attack, a water wall stood up, protecting the several shadow clones behind him. In an instant, the water wall was pierced by the spiral sword in the hands of the green Susanoo. One of Sarutobi's shadow clones was caught off guard and was directly pierced through the body, turning into a puff of light smoke and dissipating, but when Fugaku broke through to the close range, he found that Sarutobi Hiruzen on the opposite side had already accumulated a ball of fire in his mouth, and there was also a Sarutobi Hiruzen clone on each side, performing ninjutsu. 3 Escape Techniques, Great Linking Bullet Technique. Point 3 Sarutobi Hiruzen's mouth spewed out flames, water dragons, and mudslides respectively. This was already the limit allowed by the current chakra in the Sandame's body. If he was not in his prime, he could not freely perform powerful ninjutsu like 5 escape techniques, Great Linking Bullet. Even so, these 3 different chakras gathered together and still exerted an effect greater than 3. It directly tore the green Susanoo's outer garment into pieces. It once again exposed its first stage skeleton. At the place where the skeleton was broken, a rapidly rotating Vajra Rui stick smashed down on the head. At the same time, on the other side of the battlefield, the figures of Yang No and Uchiha Itachi crossed each other again, leaving several ding-ding sounds in the air. Fire Style, Impatience Claw Red. Itachi threw several shurikens wrapped in impatience at Yang No, blocking all the escape routes of the girl. As Yang No dodged left and right, red flames kept passing around her body, burning her clothes and hair. It's just a little bit short, what a pity. With this kind of fighting style, even if there is a winner, there will be no result. Aren't you going to use all your strength? Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi looked at Yang No as if he was a stranger. I know you have the power of the Mangekyo Sharingan. Aren't you going to use it now? Yonori's mouth automatically turned on the mocking mode. She sneered and said, "It's useless against you." When the weapons of both sides collided again, Yang No chose not to continue the attack, but stopped, made a truce, and asked Uchiha Itachi. "Hey, Uchiha Itachi, I want to ask you something." "Who am I?" Itachi lowered his eyes and looked directly at the toes of Yang No, not looking at the girl, he said softly. "This is the enemy I must deal with tonight." "Oh, then tell me why you want to fight me," the girl said in a leisurely tone, not worried about the clan leader who was fighting hard. She actually tried to chat with Uchiha Itachi. "Why?" Uchiha Itachi's face showed a rare trace of confusion, which was replaced by determination. "Because you are destroying the peace and stability of Konoha." "No, you are wrong." Uchiha Yono said. The sincere look on her face was enough to move the girl herself if she looked in the mirror.